Brian's coming to you again with Foundation of Civilization. This is my weekly rundown of the significant events. How are the world markets doing? Unfortunately, I think most of you already have an idea. Where are the Western military assets, and what significant events have occurred this week around the world? That is what I do this rundown for each week. What kinds of things do I happen, and what kinds of things do I think they are going to lead to? And that's the bigger question: is what actions do I see today, and where do I see that leading us in the near future? Well, to start with, the world markets. The world essentially revolves around oil. That's why I start with oil in my rundown. West Texas crude dropped significantly this week and ended the week at $61.99 a barrel. Brent ended also down at $65.58, and the OPEC basket ended at $75.35. This week, gold broke $3,100 an ounce. However, it had a pretty good pullback to $3,037. It ended the week at $3,037.65 an ounce. Silver also followed gold down to $29.62. The Baltic Exchange Dry Goods Index ended the week at $1,489. It came down just a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't come down too much. We've seen the dry goods exchange is an indicator of how markets are doing, and if it's rising, that means people are feeling good about the markets, and if it is falling, then that means that people are not feeling good about the markets. Shippers are not shipping stuff. Now, before I go into the rest of the stuff, the most significant thing that happened this week was the U.S. president's new tariff regime, and it's really setting the world on edge. Now, the rest of the world tariffs the United States products, and a lot of the places didn't see any tariffs or saw very little tariffs, and so the president implemented tariffs, initiated them. Like I said, the markets did not react well. We saw the biggest sell-off since 2020. The markets like stability, and these tariffs added an element of instability. They're unsure of where to put their money. Some of the tariffs were implemented or increased, while others were unchanged. It was interesting to see the comparison between the other countries' tariffs. One's he's prepared to impose. I noted probably the most significant one is with China. They have a 67% tariff with us. We implemented a 34% tariff for them. India has a 52% tariff, and the U.S. will impose a 26% tariff. The EU seems bent on maintaining tariffs with theirs sitting at 39%, so the United States is implementing a 20% tariff on them. There other places, Thailand has a 72% tariff, so we're imposing a 36% tariff on them. Switzerland is 61%, we're imposing a 31%. Indonesia 64%, and we're implementing a 32%. Cambodia, a small country, but I guess they think that they need to impose a 97% tariff on our goods, and so we're going to impose a 49% on them. These are causing significant shakeups. One other quick note that as far as China goes, the U.S. was joined by Europe, India, and Japan in imposing implementing or increasing tariffs on China. Now, in all this discussion, something seems to be missing. With the tariffs, people seem to think that they're being in place by the whim of the president, and actually they are being implemented. From him sitting down talking to his advisors, and they decide as a committee what they need to be. But it's left to the president. In the past, when tariffs have been imposed, those tariffs were implemented by Congress. And so, to much consternation, some people are watching the president as he decides to impose a tariff on one day and change it the next day to either lower it or eliminate it. That's been driving some people crazy, but that's one of the benefits for the president. The people who are complaining about it seem to misunderstand that the tariffs are a negotiating tool. Some countries are already negotiating or renegotiating to reduce or eliminate their tariffs on U.S. goods. Israel preemptively removed their tariffs. Argentina is preparing to remove all tariffs on U.S. products. Now, there are a few countries that were glaringly missing. Some people have had huge complaints. One of them is Russia. The reason why Russia has no tariffs implemented on them is because Russia is being sanctioned. The U.S. trade with Russia is almost zero, so there's nothing to tariff. Now, no matter what happens, there's going to be disruption in world markets. And as a citizen of the USA, I hope that it brings back more manufacturing to the United States. In fact, I live and I currently work, my regular job is at a U.S. factory. While world economic business leaders and reporters make wild claims of this administration's failures, they're ignoring the bigger problem, that the world markets are in a bubble and have needed a correction for some time. I want to say for over a decade. Many financial numbers across the world are being faked, and many countries are actually on the verge of collapse if they don't fix their financial problems. Although this downturn in the market hurts, it is a pain that needs to be felt and something that we've needed to go through for some time. And I doubt that it will be over with soon. It's going to take time to shake out these things so that we can get rid of the infection of poor performing investments. As far as global conflicts go, well, we have some interesting developments this week also. Much of the instability continues around the world. Fortunately, no flare-ups in between Rwanda and Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but as far as U.S. ISR flights go, that's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance flights. They continue to suggest a significant presence over the northern Mexico and surveillance of into northern Mexico. They are also continue to investigate the western U.S. mountains. This week, we also saw some increased activity along the eastern seaboard, especially the southeastern seaboard. Now, last week, I noted that there were 6 or 7 B-2 stealth bombers deployed to Diego Garcia. Well, I found out that during its flight, one of these aircraft suffered some damage when it landed in Hawaii, and it remains there as of me filming this, and as it's being repaired, and which then they will proceed to the island. I assume they'll proceed to the island. Now, apparently Diego Garcia has 4 hangars that could house the B-2 bombers. However, instead of placing any of these aircraft in the hangars and concealing their location, they were conspicuously parked outside. Any satellite or nearby observer could see the aircraft. Now, there's not much on Diego Garcia. There aren't very many people, so I have a feeling that the British government knows exactly who's doing what and who they can trust and who they cannot trust. Uh, Now, the U.S. military leaving these aircraft out means that for some reason they want uh, the world to know where they are. Additionally, this week I discovered that a squadron of A-10s were deployed to the Middle East. Did not. It was not stated exactly where. Uh, my guess is they are within striking distance of Yemen, so that they can attack the Houthi rebels. This brings a lot of assets to the area in preparation for some action. Uh, right now, it's being directed at the Houthis in Yemen, uh, but I believe that people are getting prepared, governments are getting prepared, especially the U.S. government, to attack Iran. And in fact, I will note, so here, it was not the Harry Truman. Who was it? The Carl Vinson. USS Carl Vinson was being retasked and sent to the Middle East. The other aircraft carriers, USS America remains in Sasebo, Japan, with George Washington in Yokosuka, Japan. I noted the Carl Vinson. It was in the East China Sea. Now it's headed to the Middle East. USS Abraham Lincoln is underway for a sustainment cruise. The USS Harry S. Truman is operated in the Red Sea. The USS Nimitz departed San Diego for a regular scheduled deployment to the Western Pacific. The Reagan, last report we had was just that it was away from its home port in Bremerton, Washington. The USS Tripoli, last report we had it at its home port in San Diego. And the USS Wasp, also again last report a few weeks ago, was in its home port at Norfolk, Virginia. The USS Iwo Jima returned to Norfolk, Virginia this week. The USS Gerald R. Ford departed Norfolk, Virginia for a pre-deployment exercise. The USS H.W. Bush departed Norfolk on the 16th of March. As far as the European markets go, again, like most of the world, these markets were down significantly this past week. The DAX ended the week at 20,641.72. The FTSE ended at 8,054.98. The CAC 40 ended at 7,274.95. The IBEX at 12,422. And a bit of sad news, the 4 soldiers that went missing last week have been recovered and returned to the United States. Their armored vehicle, they accidentally drove their armored vehicle into a swamp, and apparently the soldiers drowned. In continued oppression of populist movements, the French far-right leader, according to the papers, they're called far-right, Marine Le Pen was barred from seeking office for 5 years. The establishment is resorting to the legal system to try to tamp down any populist uprisings. Germany's Stern magazine is calling for conscription of young people to take up arms to defend diversity in pro-war propaganda. And while Europe looks to rearm to continue their war with Russia, many countries are finding they are running low on munitions. In this particular case, Denmark has sent quite a bit of its weapons and weapon systems to Ukraine for Ukraine to fight. And that will actually leave them very little to use to be able to defend Greenland. They may be down to throwing snowballs at the United States whenever the U.S. Military moves in. And I say that as a joke. I don't foresee any military action between the United States and Denmark over Greenland. Greece has announced that it is, as it's exiting its austerity measures, it's decided to increase its defense spending, which is probably a good idea. They need quite a bit of help. British Council institutes this past week have stated they plan on implementing harsher sentences for white men. Despite the peace talks, the Russian president signed into the law the conscription of 160,000 men. This is something that's standard. They have 2 times a year they have conscription notices. The Russian military already sits at about 2.4 million people. It was at 1.5 million people, now 2.4 million. While the U.S. seems to want to disengage in the war in Russia, Europe doesn't want to disengage. They continue to express aggression against the Russian state with plans of growing their own defense spending. The trouble for Europe is that any defense spending will take years to reap the rewards of new arms, whether it be the development or the implementation and training of soldiers. Even just processing some of these weapon systems, if they're old and well-established weapon systems, it can still take months to build these weapons and get them into the field. It is interesting that the Russian president has been reluctant to conscript a significant amount of forces up to now. He's been using a lot of the Wagner forces, mercenaries, and North Korean troops recently. It is using these troops has relieved the burden of him calling up the average Russians, but now that time seems to be over. In Asia, the Nikkei, like most places, was down. It ended the week at 33,780.58. The SSE index was at 3,342.01. The Hang Seng index ended at 22,849.81. The Sensex ended at 75,364.69. And the Nifty 50 ended at 22,904.45. As a follow-up to the Myanmar earthquake, the death toll has climbed to 3,000. My guess is that there are probably many people that will never be found. So that's probably significantly higher than that, but so far as 3,000 is what they have put out as their death toll. The South Korean court removed President Yoon from office after the martial law debacle. This week, China deployed its aircraft carrier for military drills to intimidate Taiwan. And that's kind of interesting also because the Chinese carriers have been struggling to not burn and not break apart. U.S. has approved sales of F-16s to the Philippines in a $5.5 billion weapons package. And the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines staged naval drills in the disputed South China Seas. Due to a number of factors, including other conflicts around the world, sales and production of weapon systems for Taiwan have also been slowed, similar to Denmark having trouble. And I quote from the article from the Department of Defense previously neglected LRASM procurement and Harpoon sales to Taiwan to the point where these weapons will not reach critical capacity by the Davidson window. This is the time frame named after former U.S. Indo-Pacific commander Admiral Davidson. He estimates that China will not be ready to invade Taiwan. Their window opens in 2027. Of course, anything could change at any moment. On the other end of Asia, Turkey has been enhancing its strategic intelligence and law enforcement cooperation with Libya, which is interesting because Libya is barely holding on as a nation as it is. In the Middle East, Israel broke the ceasefire agreement and attacked a number of sites in Gaza, outraging many across the world, especially in the Middle East. Iranian personnel have left Yemen. They pulled them back as U.S. strikes intensify against the Houthis. Military confrontation is almost inevitable, absent of a deal with Iran. And Khomeini, the leader of Iran, promises a strong blow if Trump bombs Iran. Which is interesting because Iran is really struggling to, just to take care of itself at the moment. They've been taking significant hits that have been destroying a lot of things around the country. In Africa, thousands took the streets Friday in Central African Republic to protest President Faustin unchanged Toderas, and I hope that I pronounced that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. He plans to run for a third term with the backing of Russian-led mercenaries, the Wagner Group. A lot of people apparently do not like that idea, so they took to the streets to protest. The countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have agreed to form a joint force to combat terrorism in the region. Hopefully they, no, I won't say that. Hopefully they know who to not join their coalition to avoid entanglements. And no, I'm not talking about other African nations. I'm talking about Western powers. In the Americas, the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the week at 38,314 and 86 or 0.86. The S&P 500 ended at 5,074.08. The Nasdaq ended up this week at 15,587.79. The Panama Canal has been disputed for a little while now, for quite a bit, and the current U.S. president was the administration was pushing the sale of the administration of the canal from its current Chinese holders to another company. That the sale of the Chinese company that manages the Panama Canal has been halted. It was supposed to be purchased by a much more U.S.-friendly BlackRock, but objections have been noted by the Chinese antitrust regulators. BlackRock was to buy the Hong Kong firm C.H. Hutchinson's controlling interest, which would give them control of 43 ports around the world with 199 berths in 23 countries. Canada's foreign minister was in Europe. The Melanie Joly, and she stated the obvious to the NATO, a group for NATO, saying that we know that the relationship will never be the same again between talking about the relationship between the United States and Canada. In testimony on May 31st of this past week, Peter Mattis, a senior fellow for the U.S. House Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the U.S. and the United States and Chinese Communist Party, outlined how the People's Republic of China uses influence around the world, including locally in the United States, to promote their agenda. In March 2023, from March 2023, the Associated Press reported that China had successfully influenced lawmakers and has been able to promote China-friendly policies and narratives in Utah. This through Li Tao Wen, professor of information systems and technologies at Weber State University, and a CPPCC overseas delegate. Also, a recent case with Linda Sun, a former employee of the New York State government. Sun acted as an agent under the direction of the PRC and as a representative to push for PRC agenda, including blocking Taiwanese government from accessing New York State officers and providing unauthorized invitation letters to PRC officials from the Office of New York State to facilitate their travels. Something that has been noted, and something that I have noticed in my work, my regular job, a number of migrants have obtained their commercial driver's license. It was an area that we needed a lot more drivers in. However, a number of unvetted immigrants, have gotten their license, and they are causing significant damage across the nation. Wrecks. Some of these people probably didn't even drive in their home country, and now they're being put behind the wheel, and we're trusting that they're going to get materials to market. I hope that somebody gets that figured out and gets those people some additional training and courage and caution as they're out on the roads. Ivy League schools and their peers are struggling to maintain federal investment. They're coming under scrutiny as many have failed to protect Jewish students attending their schools. Harvard itself is at risk of losing $9 billion in federal funds as the U.S. government launches a review. There seems to be a purge of spies going on across the West and between the West and China. As they arrest spies in China, we arrest spies in the West. This is likely why a professor suddenly disappeared from Indiana. His home was suddenly searched by the FBI, and the university itself released him from his contract. He was a tenured computer security professor at Indiana University, and he was an expert. His name was Xiaofeng Wang. He was an expert in his field, and he earned his PhD in electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon University in 2004, and he joined Indiana University the same year. And he has been a well-respected member of the IT security community. I will be interested to see if I can find out what else is going on with that investigation. The discussion of attack plans on against the Houthis on the application Signal has highlighted differences between the bureaucracy and admin. Some of the material that was brought out was classified. However, the President and the Secretary of Defense have the ability to declassify these things, although looking at what was discussed, I don't think that they need to declassify it. Well, now it doesn't seem to matter because it's all over the world, but now many in Washington, D.C. are angered because a reporter and friend of the President, Laura Loomer, urged the firing of a general over revelations because of his perceived disloyalty. This highlights a problem in Washington, D.C. that a number of bureaucrats and politicians use systems that are really not secure. It is I find it interesting that many people will dismiss security lapses if it is their party doing it. They're but then they call for all kinds of investigations and prosecutions if the other party does it. The bureaucrats and the politicians need to get their heads on straight. They're really insecuring our operations. I will note, however, that in this instance, I believe that this was likely likely staged. I don't believe that it is just as it appears a mistake, an indiscretion, however you want to look at it. I believe that there was something else behind it. Secretary of Defense Hegseth has ordered sex-neutral fitness standards for combat arms. So apparently if you go into combat, you're going to have to meet the same standards, which I believe are going to be the male standards. This week, one of the favorite targets of the left, Elon Musk, was headed to the CIA with his government efficiency team. It'll be interesting to see what they find and what they can clean up. CIA, I know, is very good about covering their tracks. In fact, they're very good about not having any tracks at all. So, I have gone a little long this week, covered quite a few things, and, well, those are the significant things that I see happening. As a review, more shakeup in the markets, and looks like we have a looming war with Iran. I don't think it's going to go very well for Iran soon. That's going to wrap it up. This is Jeff Rains with Foundation of Civilization. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and double check. Make sure you're still subscribed if you were in the past. I love talking to you, all you guys. I love all of you guys, and I am trying to spend my time digging through the news events and give you the significance and the where I see the world is going. Please take some time for you, your family, and everybody else, and have a good rest of your weekend or rest of your week, depending on when you view this. Thanks again, and y'all have a good time. This is Jeff Rains signing off.